I know the value of this thing that I'm trying to give away. It's very strange to have this thing that you know has this value. And I keep showing it. I've done it in hospitals, I've done it on television, I've done it on the news. I demonstrate it all the time. And so, but the world almost doesn't want it, you know? And when I work on people, the change is very fast. You know, someone can have 10 years of chronic pain and it just goes, you know, it can be in seconds. People often ask me, how long does it last? And it's the best I can tell you is 27 years for this one person. It's a university creating all the metrics. We're basically setting up the data, well, they are, to validate healers at the level of scrutiny that a scientific study is.
Hey, I'm Liz Volpe.
And I'm Diane Driscoll.
And this is Spiritual as Fuck,
where spirituality meets the real world. In this episode, we sit down with internationally recognized energy healer Charlie Goldsmith to explore his remarkable journey from his first healing experience, where he believed he was going crazy, to fighting for the opportunity to be studied inside a major public hospital, having doctors study his work firsthand. We explore what happens when science meets the unexplained and what it feels like to have your life's work constantly questioned.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Now, this is a pretty special episode, especially if you feel like you need any type of healing in any area of your life. Because today we're joined by internationally recognized healer and author Charlie Goldsmith. I know a lot of people listening today are going to know your name, Charlie. But if you don't know who Charlie is, he has worked with thousands of people around the world, healing them and honestly challenging what people feel are normal. So yeah, welcome first of all, Charlie. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Liz and Diane, for having me. It's good to meet you both.
It's a pleasure. I think, when I was spending a bit of time thinking about this interview, and I feel like there's so many places we could go and so many questions. For me, it came down to, with everything that you've done, how on earth did you first even discover that you had this ability? Because it's not something that we all suddenly realize that we've got this ability to heal. Where did your journey actually begin?
To go to the day before the journey began, or
Oh,
even
yes, please.
even the minute before, I guess, I had never heard of people doing what I've ended up doing. So, I mean, I'd never heard of it in the modern era anyway. I'm not saying it didn't exist, but um, my life to that point, I had no idea that people had these talents, and if they did, that they could be so incredibly effective and helpful to people. So when I did discover it, which I was 18, I was only a few months out of school, actually,
Wow.
and it sort of spontaneously happened. So I started feeling like a phenomena between my hands, which I would sort of compare pretty accurately, actually, to holding two opposing magnets. And so, well, it's actually a combination of an attracting magnet and opposing, depending where you hold your hands. So the first thing I ever did was I started feeling energy, which I hadn't consciously, knowingly felt before. And when that happened, when it first happened, I thought that I was going crazy because it was such a tangible feeling between my hands, and because I'd never heard of it, and I understand now that, you know, people do tai chi and all these things to feel their chi, or the different terms people have for these things. For me, I hadn't known that that was a possibility, so I started feeling energy, and you know, in that moment that I started feeling it, I literally thought I'm going crazy,
I can
and I
imagine. Wow.
yeah, genuinely, well, like 100%, I was like, I'm in trouble. Like my mind has
Oh,
departed.
gosh.
And then what happened was there were people sitting around me when I was sort of having this experience, and silently having this experience. And someone was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I'm not okay. I can feel something between my hands, and it's sort of freaking me out." And I turned to the person directly to my right, and I was like, "Feel this." I put my hand up, and she put her hand up, and I'm thinking, I don't even know what I was thinking, but I was just like in this state of, um, I was in a very uncomfortable feeling. And then she put her hand up and she was like, "Oh my God, what is that?" And she had felt, I guess whatever her experience of that was. And that was and immediately relieving. So I was on this roller coaster of this extreme, like, internal distress, like
Yes.
I'm in trouble,
Yeah.
okay, it's not just me. And then what happened was other people where I was actually doing work experience on a health retreat in southern Queensland, and um, other people came up to feel this thing that was just kind of coming out of me all of a sudden. And one lady came up and she put her hand up to feel it. And as soon as she put her hand up, I felt something about her hand that was different to everyone else's. So just to try and pull you as close as I can to being there, I was holding my hand about this far away from people. I wasn't touching them. And when I put my hand up, I felt like this lump that was in the air, but I could feel it coming off her hand. And I don't know why, but I was just like, I just feel this lump, and no one else had this lump prior to her. And I was like, I don't know why, but I just have to get rid of this lump. I had no idea. I don't, at this point, I'm not distressed. I'm curious, I suppose, and quite present in that I wasn't really thinking like what's going on. I was just
Mm.
kind of doing. Anyway, so I started kind of trying to get rid of this lump. It was with my hand, and again, it was a very tangible experience, and I got to the point where the lump was almost gone, and I sort of had a break in concentration. I looked at her, and she was crying, like really crying, and I was like, "Oh, I'm hurting you. I'm so sorry. Like, you should have told me to stop. Like, I don't know what this is doing." And she says, "No, no, no, keep going." And I was like, "Okay." So keep going. And I get to the point where the lump is, my perception of it is gone. And she starts bending her finger. And she says, "I haven't been able to bend this finger in, 10 years," or whatever she said. So that was my first experience. And in that moment, I went back into that kind of shocked, like, whoa, what? Like, I didn't know.
Mm.
I didn't, I hadn't, I wasn't thinking that this is doing something. I just was doing. It was like, I wouldn't call it a trance, but it was just like, I don't know. It's hard to describe because it's only happened to me the one time in my life where I've had an event like this. Anyway, so I went back into kind of a bit of shock because like I mentioned earlier, I never heard of anyone doing anything
Mm.
like this. And of course,
Yes,
she
yes.
had the arthritis, so she knew what I was doing. She was aware that I
Yeah,
was
yes.
targeting something, but I had no idea. So that was the beginning, and that was 27 years ago. So I've been doing it for a while, and
Gosh, Charlie,
Wow.
before you go on, I would love to ask because when I heard that story originally, because like Liz and I have both been following your work for a long time, but I have arthritis in my hand. So when I heard that, first of all, I was like, oh my gosh, I guess I was trying to view it from your perspective as a what you were going through and
mm,
trying to reconcile what's happening, but also for the person that was feeling, because they're feeling it on the inside of their body and knowing what it must have felt like for that energy to be moving or the sense of freedom back in your hands coming at that point in time. But that
totally,
initial connection between both of you must have been so overwhelming on both parts, both for you initially thinking you were losing your mind, then
mm,
going to following the flow, because how you've just described it was almost like your curiosity and your sense of knowing just seemed to take over. Here's what I'm going to
mm,
do. I feel this lump. I'm going to start moving the energy and having it validated back to you. Then, how can you, like, your immediate, I guess, interaction with that person immediately afterwards when they started moving their fingers? What did you feel? What was your exchange between the two of you?
well, in that, she was emotional, and I went to this almost shock. Like, it was like, if I can best describe it, like my whole world was shaking on the inside. Like, I was like, whoa, because I never knew anyone, I never heard of anything like this before. So to have such a direct experience where I had a tangible experience and she had a tangible experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when I work on people, the change is very fast. Someone can have 10 years of chronic pain and it just goes, it can be in seconds. And so, I've witnessed this many times now, but that was the first. And I think on the side of the person experiencing it, it is also a big experience because pain doesn't usually just disappear in seconds without any major interaction. And so, yeah, it was a big moment. I still know this lady actually. So,
Ah,
and she's still to this day better. It's people often ask me how long does it last, and it's the best I can tell
Yes.
you is 27 years for this one person. So, but it was a big experience, and I think because this is it is such a misunderstood area, and even at the levels people kind of understand it, it often sits well below its true potential. And
mm,
so. Um, that's why it is shocking in a way because this is not something we're just used to. Whereas if we were just getting healed as children and used to it, would be quite normal. But I think these experiences they're pretty interesting. They're still foreign to so many people. I mean,
Yeah.
99 probably 0.9% of people have not had an experience like that I have regularly, and also that this woman had that day. So it was pretty big. I would say I would say that it traumatized me, even though it was a beautiful
mm,
thing for her. It took me years really from there to even process that probably was traumatic. It wasn't easy because what
Wow.
happened was it freaked me out a bit, and then the reaction people had when from my family and friends
yeah.
and everything. You can't just know someone for 18 years and then they call you and they say, "Hey, I just healed someone and I'm struggling with it." They don't have the ability to also cope with that conversation because it's foreign to them too. So much so that the immediate thing is that you've lost your mind or you're crazy, or if they know you well enough, they know that you're not lying, but
Mm,
um but but to them that experience is still, their view would be very heavily weighted with doubt, and so that's what I experienced early on, is that not only was I doing this thing that was profoundly good for people, it was surrounded by a lot of doubt from anyone who would hear it secondhand. And
mm,
Yeah.
that's the hardest part. The hardest part about healing people is the response that
yeah.
others have. The healing is pretty straightforward, but the societal misunderstanding of this area is the heaviest weight. It is not easy. I have people say to me my whole, since I've done this, I wish I could do this. And I'm like, it's all very well to wish it, and yes, it's beautiful to wish it, and I wish it too that everyone could do it, but it's not as easy uh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
as it is, uh, you know, beautiful. So
Yeah.
yeah, and that's been why at that very early on. I can't tell you exactly when, but it was within the first few months of me doing this that I decided that I had to fix the problem that I saw immediately with this whole area. I saw immediately that, problem number one is that this exists and no one knows it. No
Mm,
one really, very
Yes.
few people. Let's as close to no one as it gets. And this is before like Reiki was really. This is 1999, so like Reiki wasn't like in hospitals at that point, things like this. And that's still Reiki as a generalization is still not at the level that a natural healer is like me. Reiki
Yes.
people can be very good, but Reiki as a whole is it's
yeah.
Yes.
so but anyway, back then, the problems I saw were no one knows this exists, but it is amazing and people should know. And there are no opportunities for people like me to go and learn, to get employed, to get supported like other
Mm,
talents. And so that's why I made the decisions I made back then. I'm going to fix this. I'm going to demonstrate. I'm going to put myself forward to be studied. I'm going to do everything I can to
Yes.
try and fix this problem that I saw as so enormous because it's so good. It's such
Mm.
a great medicine that I think there are people that are, I don't just think it, there are billions of people that are suffering that this medicine could be helpful for, but there's no real mechanism for it existing within the world, especially the mainstream, but even generally, because you've got the mainstream, which outright just doesn't even know it exists. But
Yeah.
then you've got the niches that are into this stuff, where you guys sit, and where I guess I sit too by accident. Like I didn't, choose
Yes,
it,
go
but
searching. Yeah.
yeah, but even in the niches, to find people who are extraordinarily good at it is very difficult. So even if you're
Yes.
interested, to find the people,
Absolutely.
it's almost impossible. So whether you're uninterested or whether you're interested, the same problem exists, is that you could see someone like me on television or read a study or whatever, and then go, I'd like that, but then good luck.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Where do I go from here? Yeah.
Mm.
well, yeah, I mean, you're in this space and you've got arthritis in your hands,
Yeah.
Mm.
right?
Exactly.
So,
It's like, yeah, and it is, and I do very much believe in our own ability to self-heal. I think what I really love, Charlie, about you putting yourself forward, it was like, here's some of the, the issues that I'm seeing, but you put yourself forward to have case studies done, to have medical studies done, to be surrounded by doctors, to, almost have the medical field pick apart and analyze what you've done, and you've put yourself out to do that. So it is, that's that in itself, having that amount of scrutiny around you. And I know there, like, I mean, I guess the one study in particular, I think it was a hospital in Brooklyn in New York, like, I mean, Lutheran hospital, that
mm,
huge study, and having a room surrounded by doctors, everybody wondering, as the ripple effect of the work that you were doing was starting to spread. I'm just trying to imagine what it must have been like for you to be in that moment where, did it impact how you were healing people? And even, like, I guess for our listeners, who some of them may not be familiar with your work, the breadth of things that you were actually healing at that point in time. Like,
mm.
you were under a microscope, so to speak, being studied. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, just kind of paint the picture for us, what it was like being
Well,
under the microscope in that way.
it was pretty it was pretty intense. I had wanted to do something like that since I was 18. I got
Yeah.
to do it that first time that you mentioned was, I think it was 2013. So it was 15 years it took me to get my first opportunity, and that's almost without a day of not trying. So that tells you how long. So that was the first time, and in that instance, I was asked by the head of research at this hospital, as you mentioned. He was like, "What do you want to do with, like, where are you trying to get to?" I said, "I really want to do studies." He said, "Look, you really need to do a double-blind study to do the gold standard of science." And the trouble I was having was I had talked to professors and universities, and everyone just said, look, even if you can do this, and this is if they would even talk to me, no one will fund it. And so to do a double blind study, you're talking hundreds of thousands
Oh,
and
wow.
and more, in the millions sometimes, of funding, but no one wants to fund this. And so he said, why don't, if you want, we could set up a case series where we can see how you go within a hospital environment and see how it works within our normal flows, and it won't cost any money except for my expenses, which I covered.
Yeah.
And we will just do it in the normal course of our medical practice. And what we'll do is we'll make a protocol that you'll work on everyone that our interventions aren't helping. So people in pain where the painkillers aren't helping them, or infections where the antibiotics aren't working, and so on. And so I was like, absolutely, I'm very happy to do this. And so
Yeah.
went through all those processes and approvals. And so then I flew to New York, ended up in this hospital in Brooklyn, and I spent, I think it was almost 2 weeks going in every day. And the doctors would do their rounds, and I would turn up and I would wait and I would talk to like the head doctors in each area. And every day for 2 weeks, they were quite polite to me. They were very polite to me. But they would just say, we've done the rounds. We don't really feel like there's anyone suitable for you today. And so
Mm.
I was trying to be, I was being very patient and just being okay. And then I would catch the train like an hour each way. And I got to the 2 week mark or thereabouts. And I finally said to this one doctor, I said, listen, if they are in the hospital, they are for me.
Yes.
Please just give me a chance. Let me show you what I do. And then you can decide what's for me and what isn't. And so he said, "Oh," and he sort of thought about it, and he's like, "Okay, well, there's a woman on the next floor, and she's an older woman. She doesn't speak English, and she's got this pain in her neck, and she keeps coming back all the time. We haven't been able to help her." And I said, "Well, great." So he took me up to the next floor, and it probably took me 20 seconds to have her pain free, and he was like,
Wow.
yeah. And so
That's,
after that, and this is all you can probably actually see her case if
yeah.
you'll see neck pain and how she must have been 60 or 70, I forget. But um, so then after that, that doctor was like, "Whoa, okay." And so he took me
Yeah.
within a few days, probably to 20 patients, of which I had a dramatic effect on probably 18 of them. And at that point, it really started to change everything within that environment, because I had doctors coming in to watch me work on people. I had doctors coming to take me to other areas. Like once I got on enough of a group of patients, then everything sort of went my way. Students were coming
Yeah.
up to me to talk to me. Doctors that were really almost upset that I was in the hospital in the beginning
Yeah.
joined the study,
Yes.
like literally
The
joined the
trust
study.
I
and
So
the
bet.
trust and credibility
yeah,
just starts to
Wow.
build. Yeah.
yeah, and there was a lot, like this isn't an alternate hospital. This is a very large
Yeah.
public hospital. It's a poorer population. It is in no way alternate, and so
Yeah.
if you can imagine me in a hospital, going around. It wasn't a place with crystals hanging around and dream catchers. This is a hospital, and so the environment was very not an environment where you would see someone like me doing work like I was doing. But it went very well. That was the published study, and it went so well they invited me back another time to do another series of cases, which was good. And it went so well that even last week I was in New York working in the clinic of one of the doctors who was working at the hospital at that time. So,
Ah, wow.
but the pressure on me to give you, um, the best I can describe it is, imagine if I'm an athlete and,
Yeah.
I'm at the Olympics and I get one race,
Mm.
and if I don't win, I'm a fraud. It's not that I just didn't win. It's not that I had a bad
Yes.
day. It's that I'm a
Yeah.
bad person, that it's now documented that this guy is full of shit. And
Mm.
and I was at year 15 into my hopes and dreams, and hadn't really had any other, apart from a lot of practice. I'm a very practiced healer, but I
Yes.
hadn't, that was my first big opportunity. So the pressure on me was enormous.
Yeah.
Had I done well, which I did, that ended up with a whole lot of other good events that,
Yeah.
that's why you've heard of me, to be honest. But had I not gone well, it would have arguably been very hard for me to come back from that.
Yeah,
And
such a
so,
big responsibility. I
yeah,
mean, I can only just imagine the responsibility that you carry on your shoulders when you are attempting to get this gift out into the world to actually make a genuine difference, and every single corner is filled with obstacles and blockages and people that are going to judge and
let's
have,
yeah,
yeah,
it's hard
strong
because it's like,
opinions.
the way I would describe it is that, like, if you had a painkiller that did what I do. So,
Mm.
Yeah.
in that hospital study, I worked on, I feel like it was 50 different things. I forget. It's in published, or something like that. And I dramatically helped 80% of them. So almost to zero symptoms for 80% of the people. So if you had a painkiller or a pill that did that,
Yeah.
that pill would be probably one of the most valuable
Oh, yes.
things commercially that could ever happen. So I've been doing this at that point for a long time, and at this point for a very long time, 27 years. And so for me, I know the value of this thing that I'm trying to give away. I'm trying to be like,
Yeah.
hey, world, this is a real thing that can help people. And I suppose that it's very strange to have this thing that has this value. And I keep showing it. I've done it in hospitals, I've done it on television, I've done it
Yeah.
on the news, I demonstrate it all the time. And
Yes.
so
Instagram lives I've been on.
yeah, I do it anyway.
Yes.
I don't really mind. But the world almost doesn't want it. It
Yeah.
doesn't know because there's just this aversion to it. It's like that it's bad, or they say things like it's just a placebo. But
Yes.
if I went into a hospital and had
Mhm.
a placebo effect on 80% of people, where I dropped their symptoms from, from hospital level, whatever that is, to, in many cases down to nothing, then we should be lining up for this placebo. So
Absolutely. It's the
Absolutely.
power of the mind then. Yes.
well, it's
Yeah.
whatever. It actually doesn't
Yeah.
matter. The truth is that, like, what people do is they try and diminish this area, not just mine, but also
Mhm.
pretty much all complementary medicine, to say things like it's just a placebo. But
Yes. Yeah.
the terminology is incorrect. It should be said actually in the opposite way, that it's a placebo. Like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're better. That pain you had is gone. What happened? Well, a placebo fixed it. What? That's amazing. You mean something that had no side effects and no risks fixed you from this big problem? Like, that's so cool. So, like, not that I believe that this area is a placebo, although I think all medical interventions utilize the placebo. I think it's a cooperative
Yes.
thing with the body
Yeah.
anyway. But regardless, like, if someone like me and others who are doing similar things are walking around able to deliver the placebo at this high rate, that's wonderful. It's not just a placebo. It's like the placebo. It's like, what I think is so cool about it is the placebo is the internal medical system that we have.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it's the thing that the human body has its own ability to heal itself based on stimulus that's created that. And it's so cool. Like, placebo affects, 30 to, sometimes 50, 60% of people, and can outdo some operations, most pain
Yeah.
medicine. Like, it's so cool. And yet we've diminished it into this. The only thing we think of it is the benchmark, as which anything that's below it is bad. But it's like, no, hold on a second. Anytime someone heals is good. And
Yes.
the body's ability to do it itself, like, it's amazing. Like, we should be celebrating it. So even though I still am doing a lot, like, I'm currently being studied here in America, um, versus placebo. And so we'll find out if I am a placebo or not a placebo at some point in probably a year or so. Once it's finished, I should say. I'm the guinea pig, I'm not the university. But regardless, like, this idea that placebo is used to slap around this industry as a negative is just so silly.
Yeah. So true. So true.
Yeah.
I have to ask, and I'm sure you've done this, because this is you've got so many challenges happening here. Has there been that time that you just sit there and go, like, why me? Like, why me? And what do you put that, you've brought this gift into the world. Have you met now other people that you feel can awaken this gift? And is it something that we can all do? Just anything that I guess you found.
There's a few questions you asked there.
Mm.
The why have I thought, why me? Um, I, I don't. I mean, I actually believe, and this is true. I believe this is why I was born to.
Yeah.
Deeply believe that I was put here to bring this stuff to the world, and that's why I've been willing to suffer the the reputational damage and the attacks and all the things, because I deeply believe it's what I'm meant to do. And if I didn't believe it, I probably wouldn't be doing it and putting myself out there under scrutiny. But I do believe that. And I think that I believe that, going back many years, 27 years, but today I feel like that's kind of been proven to probably be true. I've made it quite far under in very hostile circumstances.
Yes.
And the work I'm currently doing here, like I mentioned, I'm being studied by a really big university, and soon, later this year, a huge government, a huge wing of the government. So I'm doing things that makes sense, given I thought that that's what I was here to do. And so this kind of is happening now. So of course they sometimes have been very hard, but I have still deeply felt that I have to just keep going.
Mm.
But the next question you said is, have I met other people? And I think that one of the things that I would like to fix within this industry is that, you know, because the placebo effect is so strong. I mentioned that
Mhm.
placebo can even compete with some of the best pain medications. It's very powerful. And so what that does is it means that there's a lot of practitioners out there that are just a placebo, when
Yes.
or are a placebo, not just a placebo.
Yes.
Um, but there are practitioners that are a lot better, that I think trend above the placebo. And so the problem currently is it's very hard to find these diamonds in the rough, a needle in the haystack of the millions of Reiki master certificates. How many of them can actually have this profound effect? I would argue that it's a fraction of the people who believe that they can. And the problem with that is, even though they're well intentioned, the people who are sort of more having this,
Yes.
they are making it hard to find the truly talented. And that's a problem,
Yes.
because the truly talented really do a lot better than the ones that aren't. So a big part of my work and I'm in the middle of this at the moment, is we have built a platform to test people for real talent. So to separate
Yes.
them from, hitting these placebo marks to going well above it. People who can do what I did and go into a hospital and have this big effect on people. And so I've built a platform which we started building. I guess it's been a couple of years now, and we tested it, and we have seen some people who did quite well in the platform, and we've just now started to build a bigger platform which will test people for real talent, and then give them employment or income opportunities, I should say. And more importantly, is give people, if someone sees someone like me on somewhere, or someone else doing good work out there, that they'll have a place they can come and
Yes.
trust
So
that the
important.
practitioners are actually tested. So that's the biggest problem with the industry, is that right now um, is that you have, an industry where there's a lot of people teaching. Most of the teachers probably don't have real talent. Some will, most won't.
Yeah.
So that's like, you can't really teach well from that place, I would say, for a start. But then what happens is they say, and this is what you said earlier, Liz, can everyone do this? And the answer is they can't. Or you wouldn't be talking to me now. I wouldn't be any.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would be uninteresting. So I think that the issue is that the way these modalities work is, unfortunately, that they say everyone come and learn, everyone can do it, everyone gets the same certificate. We're not saying, thank you so much for learning with us. You don't have the talent, no certificate for you, which is what would happen in any other thing, right?
So
Absolutely.
You're not going to
true.
Yeah.
go to,
The practical application and the
yeah, you're
evidence
not going to go
of
to
the
medical
results. Yeah.
school and fail every exam and get the certificate. And so the exam in this area would be, well, can you do it? Do you have this impact on people that where we could say you actually do have an ability? And so, because that doesn't exist, it has caused a problem. It's probably, to be honest, the biggest problem that I
Yeah.
face. It's not so much the medical industry. It's the fact that it's so hard to find the real talent for people who need it. So the platform we've made is designed to do this, to test people rapidly, find people who do have this very big effect, and then make sure we're linking people who have arthritis in their hands with people who do have this, this very big effect on people.
Yeah. I think for anyone listening and feeling that they can do something or they're looking for an outlet, it is the ENNIE app, ENNIE. Am I correct in spelling that, Charlie?
Correct. Yeah.
But on, I think it's also, so even if there are people who are out there who have the talent, when you consider the obstacles that you have gone through,
Mhm.
you've been a way shower now to show people here's how it can be done. And you have built that trust, that credibility within the medical community as well, which I think is so important because while, as an example, if I was someone who believed, yes, I have this talent, I can actually heal people. And even if I'm getting good results, I may not have the wherewithal or the presence or the stamina to be able to go up against
It's
the
hard.
system the way you have
Yeah.
done for
Yeah.
years and years and years. So
Well,
the word way shower keeps coming to me for you, that you're so much a way shower in this space that is allowing other people to, I don't want to say ride on your coattails, but you're bringing that
well,
forward for people.
actually, what I've done is, so I mentioned that to do my first study, which was that really gave me the big opportunities that I've had post that. That took me 15 years under all sorts of pressure, a huge risk.
Mm.
What we've created that people will be able to utilize is the equivalent to a study. So you'll be able to, without suffering the way I have, all the time, all the effort, all the knockbacks, all the criticisms. This app is designed like a study. So you'll be able to go in and you will be able to find out if you do have talent. So you, instead of thinking you do, you'll find out if you do, which is not a bad thing. And then, but it's literally run like a study. So the way it will work is that if the platform says you have talent, and that will be validating in ways that is almost impossible to do, because like,
Yeah.
I've only just scraped my way through that. So we're giving people everything that I didn't have. But on top of that, it's anonymous, so there's no embarrassment, there's no risk, there's no reputational risk. You get to go and see if you have talent, and if you do, then we'll also give people the ability to earn money, and without having to market themselves, and having to somehow show that, oh, if I do have a talent, how do I show that I'm better than the Reiki master who's the better marketer but doesn't have more talent? So at the
Yeah.
moment, it's the best marketers win, the most charismatic people win. But I'm only interested in a world where the best talent wins,
Mm.
the very best talent, because the best talent will do the best for the people who need it. And they're obviously the people who are suffering. So this basically, this device essentially will do everything I've done in 27 years. People will be able to do in hours. On top of
Wow.
that, we're giving away my teaching for free as part of it. So people can learn from me, or they can do other modalities. I'm not saying my way is the only way, but they can learn from me, or go and learn somewhere, test their talent, get it validated, and then get work all from the comfort of their own home. So, if I had had that when I was 18 years old, it would have meant I discover my ability. Someone says, hey, there's this app called ENNIE, you should try it. I go in, I can do it. Next thing, I've got a job. Like, that would have been a lot shorter
Yeah.
than what I've been through. So, and
Amazing.
and that validation is not unimportant, because it does feel, it is a mentally hard thing to
Mm.
to do. And so what's cool about the platform is that validation, once you have it, then it doesn't matter what other people say or think. It's not in your
Exactly.
head.
Yes,
It's not in your head anymore.
absolutely.
You're independently validated. So like, our data is all been, um, the way we critique healers has all been set up by a university. So it's not me deciding. It's a university creating all the metrics. They're running it. It's that they happen to be the same people who are studying me, and so they've had a head start in that. They've seen how I work, and all the things. So that we're basically setting up the data, well, they are, to validate healers at the level of scrutiny that a scientific study is. So it's like, it's real validation.
Mm.
that right now, I can tell you that to get to the point of having that, it's as close to impossible as it gets because of the money hurdles and also the courage it takes and to perform under pressure. There's a lot that you have to have, and I must have something, you know, um, very wrong with me to have continued to do it. It's like,
You're definitely bit of entrepreneur in you there, Charlie,
Yeah.
for sure.
well,
And
it's not. It's more than an entrepreneur
no,
wouldn't have spent this long. It's a long
Yeah.
time.
I feel, Charlie, I said this to Liz offline. Obviously we research for any of our guests and we always kind of set our intentions coming on. And one of the things that was in my mind was around, I guess, your spiritual or psychic gifts. And for me, it was like it just seen so much claircognizance and clair sentience in the way you describe it, or at least in my, but that almost your sense of knowing, claircognizance, if you didn't have this true belief right down into your bones about what you're doing, I don't believe there's any possibility that we would be sitting chatting to you here today. There's no way that you would be creating this platform for other healers to come through in such a credible and validated way. And for me, it stood out as that I guess spiritual gift or clairsentient gift, that clair gift that you have, that if you didn't have that sense of knowing. And even going back to the beginning of the interview when you were describing about, yes, you thought you were going crazy, but then almost like your curiosity and that, no, it's like, I know something's happening here. I'm going to
Mhm.
go, keep doing what I'm doing. Is the word like claircognizance, that no sense of knowing, or clairsentience, is that how you ever describe some of the things you do, or does that make sense to you how I'm describing it?
I Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't use the spiritual lingo because it's not natural to me,
Mm,
but I would say that yes, I have always had this knowing that has kept
yeah.
pulling me forward and making me do things that everyone has told me not to do. I was told to never tell people I can heal people from the very beginning because of how people would react. Then I was told, when I got the opportunities for the hospital study, I was told not to do it. The doctors will never tell the truth, even if you can do it. I got told every reason not to do it. Even, early on when I wanted to, when I was sort of fighting my way through trying to find my kind of place or my path with disability, my dad would be like, "You need to go and study like massage or hypnotherapy. You need to hide behind something credible." And I was
Yes.
like, "I'm not." I refused. I would be like crying. I'd be like 18 years old, like screaming at
Oh,
my dad, being
no.
like, "I am not." This is true, and I was like, "I am not going to pretend I'm something that I'm not. I don't
Oh,
want."
wow.
And this is what I do, and I need to stick to it. And on top of that, as I was sort of struggling my way in the early years with doing these things to people or having this effect, and then all the negativity that would come with it, at different times I met with different like Reiki masters and different kind of healers, and they would often, I remember one time a lady who's a Reiki master, my I was living in St Kilda in Melbourne, and there was a little, I don't know if it's still there, probably not. It was a long time ago, but there was like like it was in the uh, it was in like an arcade where the Coles
I
were
know
just
exactly what you
upstairs.
mean. Yeah, Ackland
Yeah,
Arcade.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it's called. So there used to be at least like a little spiritual crystals, and they had a room at the back where they did like Reiki and whatever. And my best friend and I went there just to check it out. So, and I would do this from time to time to sort of see if I could meet anyone I could feel like I could relate to. And I think like once a week they had like a night where people who would Reiki practitioners would practice for free on people who could just come. And so I went there, I kind of timidly showed up, and I was watching them, do their thing. And then I kind of started working on people and having this big effect that I have. And afterwards, we're sort of sitting in a circle, and everyone's asking me questions, which is, like, how do I do this, and what am I want to do with it? And I said at the time, I was like, and I don't remember how. I mean, how old was I at this point? I don't know, somewhere in my 20s, I forget. And I said that, I want to be studied. and I want to change the world. Like I want people to know this stuff is real. And the Reiki master that was leading the pack was like, well, that's just your ego. You just want to show off. And I said, I was a bit like, it was my ego felt a bit bruised by that, because I was like, well, I just think this is really important. Like, people don't, like, I just walked in there, and my ability was well above theirs,
Yeah.
and I had seen this a lot. So, but so I was kind of told off,
Mm.
and so I had to, and this happened quite a lot to me. I was consistently, people were trying to level me when because I had this big picture of what I wanted to do, but because I was trying to fix the problem that I had when I discovered it, was that there was no pathways, there was no jobs, there was no, nothing. So, but right through my career, especially in the early days, I would have people who were sort of experts in this field, which I still today wouldn't call myself an expert in this field, because I don't believe anyone is, to be honest with you. I think some
Mm.
people can be very good at it, but I don't believe anyone is truly an expert in it, because I think it's sort of very beyond our own ability to comprehend.
Yeah.
Most of the experts that I've met can't really heal people that well, so it's not.
Yeah.
But that's the sort of stuff I had to contend with, my own industry, I suppose,
Mm.
trying to level me and tell me I was wrong, and so that was one of the biggest battles I had over time, that I was second guessing this knowing, like, am I just trying to show off? Am I, or like, am I a bad person? Am I all these things that were getting projected onto me? And I still had the knowing that would keep
Yeah.
propelling me forward.
The North Star.
Yeah, but I definitely always had that question in my mind. Even before I entered the hospital, for that first study, I was worried that, like, am I meant to be doing this? Like,
Yeah.
does the ability want me to be in this environment? Is it going to suddenly not work because I'm not meant to do this? But like I said, that was based on a lot of people projecting onto me
Yes.
Yeah.
these ideas that it
Yeah.
was wrong. So, um, you know, here I am. I've made it to the other side. I certainly don't question it anymore at all,
Mm.
which
Oh,
is
well done. What a journey. And you've
mm.
since wrote your book, You Are the Healer, which I just started to listen to on Spotify, and we'll definitely share all of the links for that. Who is this book for? Tell us a little bit about it.
I think the book is for anyone who has a brain. So
Everybody, basically.
That may not be
yeah,
everybody.
True.
yeah. No. So, yeah, if you don't have a brain, just don't buy it. But if you do, it's very good. And I think that, like, because I think I've had an unusual experience in that, to have an ability that is so kind of ostracized, and then
Mm.
have this drive. I've had to put myself in very difficult situations, very public and under a lot of scrutiny, and a day doesn't go by where I'm not, I get very positive and very negative experiences, I guess. And because of that, there's no real, especially in this current world, there's nothing to set you up to handle that. It is
Mm.
not a normal experience. And so what that's done is that, in parallel to me propelling forward and bit by bit doing these bigger and bigger things, where I've had to represent energy medicine at the level I do, and mentally also survive it and stay, hopefully, a balanced person on my journey, and not either let the negativity stop me, or the positivity make me into a terrible human. I've had to really overcome my own inner world and traumas from even my career, but from childhood, and learn to navigate very hard things, and in that process, bit by bit, I've really learned to understand, like, how my mind works, or how my consciousness works. And I guess over time, kind of brick by brick, I was learning and understanding, like, instead of being kind of like at the mercy of my mind, and at the mercy of being overwhelmed at different points, or or detached, or anxious, or full of fear, or all these different things that can get in the way of where we want to go. Particularly fear, probably in my case, could have been
Mhm.
a, a
Yeah.
problem. Learning the way these emotions work, and being able to process emotion efficiently as our sort of bodies intend for it to be done. Eventually, I had a book in me, because I knew that if I can learn to stay uh, peaceful with what I've done, then this is going to be very good for lots of other people, who are
Yes.
struggling with life. A lot of people, if they're honest, um, no matter what's going on in their outer world, will sometimes, even constantly, or from time to time, have real inner struggles, where they're using different methods, from medications to distractions to alcohol to I don't know, television, to sex, to drugs, to whatever, to try and feel good on the inside.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They're constantly having to use methods, tapping themselves and doing all these different things, because, oh yeah, if I tap myself, my anxiety goes for an hour or a day, and that may be true and that's good. But why is the anxiety coming all the time? And
Yeah.
is the right thing to do to be getting rid of the anxiety? Does that work? I would challenge anyone that is listening to this to answer honestly. If you are someone who is suffering at the hands of your own inner emotions from time to time, or constantly, have any of the methods you've worked ended up fixing it? Or have you worked out how to either walk away from something that's triggering you, or have you got methods that give you a break? And I
Yeah.
think most people would say, at best, I have methods that give me a break. Probably your audience uses the healthiest methods they can, but depending on how big the overwhelm is, will depend on
Yeah.
the methods they use to try and manage it. But a lot of people are suffering, and the truth is that the overwhelm that we feel, the anxiety or the overwhelming fear, or when the people who fall in love with people too quickly, and that's overwhelming, and they scare the people off, like the emotions that are out of control are not out of control because you're broken. They're out of control because you don't know how to process the emotion properly. So we are living in this world where we think, oh, I'm getting all this anxiety, there's something wrong with me, or I'm too scared, there's something wrong with me.
Mhm.
And it's a real misunderstanding that there's nothing wrong with you. There's something wrong with the way that you're trying to deal with this part of you. And because you're doing it incorrectly, this part, or the experience you have, remains in overwhelm. And so we're constantly saying things like, I wish I didn't feel this. I wish I didn't have this anxiety. I wish I didn't have this fear. I wish when I get into relationships, I wouldn't be so full on and scare the person off. And so what we're doing essentially is we're saying that I don't like this part of me. I don't like that part of me. I
Yes.
don't like this part of me. And I think, and I won't go on about it for too long, or I'm going to tell you the whole book, but essentially, the idea of self-love, which most people think they know, but they don't. So self-love, people think as, well, I get myself a massage and I feed myself well, and that is loving for sure. Or if something's uncomfortable, I walk away from it. That they think this is self-love, and but what it really is, self-love, the actual truth of it, is to love every part of myself, even in the uncomfortable ones.
Mhm.
And when we don't love ourselves, so if you imagine yourself and all the different parts of you, there's angry Charlie, happy Charlie, Charlie in love, Charlie hungry, Charlie fear. So these are all, like, this is me. You see one person, but I'm actually made up of a whole lot of different aspects of me. And what we do is we try to curate it and go, I don't like it when I'm angry. I don't like it when I'm sad.
Yeah.
I don't like it. So we've actually rejecting all these parts of ourselves. And what happens when you reject one is the part ends up in this overwhelmed state. So when I feel fear, if I've rejected fear as a part of myself I don't like, when it arrives, because something scary is happening, because I've rejected it, it arrives in this overwhelmed state, which is super intense. But it was because we've rejected it. And so because we're not taught that we have to love all these parts because they're important parts of our ability to function in the world. Fear helps me cross the road safely. It helps me make sure that if my son's running towards a swimming pool, I'm ready to dive in. You know, fear is a wonderful thing, but we've rejected so many of our own parts that we end up in all this overwhelm all the time. And so that's what the book is about. It's about how to take these parts of us that are out of our conscious control, that we call broken, and to bring them back within our conscious control so they act as tools to help us navigate the world, and not as weapons that have been turned on us where we're now suffering them, and now we're pathologized into there's something wrong with me. So I wrote this book because I did it for me. I learned this through my own experiences. I think part of it came as part of my gift. The healing ability, I think, carries this knowledge with it as well. And so ultimately, I actually sidetracked my career, which is the energy healing, just for a moment to quickly write the book. And so, because I knew that if people read this, it's going to make people realize that they haven't been given the manual for how our emotion
Yes.
works, and instead we're just trying to combat it all the time and trying to control the outer world so we don't suffer on the inside. And we see this as a big problem in the current world. You need to call me a certain thing or I will suffer. So
Yeah.
we're
Yes.
where I don't agree with your opinion, so you should be cancelled. Instead of just not caring, we're trying to control everything so we can be at
Yeah.
peace. Your political views are different to mine. I don't want anything to do with you. And that's because that view triggers something in us that puts us in overwhelm. And because we don't know how to fix the overwhelm, I have to get rid of the stimulus. But actually, what we need to do is learn how to control the overwhelm, or how to
Yeah.
integrate it. So I gave you a big answer then, I know, but
Oh, I can just imagine everyone sat there now going, "Okay, give me the link." 'Cause
Absolutely, because it is applicable to everyone. We
yeah.
all need this,
everyone.
and even we think of our kids, like as a parent, if we can gift ourselves with building our capacity to hold
Mm,
emotion and to integrate these different parts of
100%.
ourselves,
Well,
the gift that passes on to the next generation is phenomenal. So yeah, get
100%.
stuck into the book, absolutely, and apply it. Like it is the practical application then of not just reading it and understanding it intellectually. It's, really, really start to integrate it into your life, and that ripple effect then to your kids, to your family, to your community. That's huge.
Yeah, 100%. I think what happens is, especially you obviously have a community of people who, are spiritual or are seeking that as an important part of their lives. And the truth is that, again, I think most people listening to this would reluctantly agree to this. Most people are either stuck in thinking about the future or the past.
Yeah.
Imagining a positive future in order to feel better with the present moment, or reliving things from the past and beating themselves up, or even reliving things from the past and they're positive, but on both ends are really not able to be present. And it's in the present moment as we sit here together where we basically are able to process all of our emotion. And most people have left the present moment, and unfortunately in the spiritual world, things, the way we're taught things like mantras,
Mm.
manifestation, is like, if I feel terrible and then I'm trying to have a mantra. So if I feel, I don't know, if I feel not worthy, classic spiritual thing to say. Um, and I want to say, well, no, I am worthy, I am worthy, I am worthy. What happens is we're out of the present moment because we're thinking that's not the present moment. And then what we're trying to do is we're trying to take one program which is running in our little computer here, and we're trying to change it to another instead of addressing why is this program running?
Yes.
And how do I stop this instead of having to put band-aids over all these out of control thoughts? And
Mm.
ultimately, when you learn to do that, you can be in the present moment.
Mm.
which is the most powerful place you can be, whether it's you, if you want to do work like mine, or you want to, be able to navigate this world successfully. You need to be able to be present, but to be present, you have to be willing to feel hard things, because
Yes.
life is hard sometimes. But that's what people are trying to avoid. So a lot of people are like, I just want to feel good, so I'm going to meditate to feel good, or I'm going to take a drug, or we always are trying to feel good. But the reality is, we have this range of emotions that are beautiful and comforting and loving, and we have another range, which is, this is fear, this is hate, this is. And so it's normal for us to not always feel good, but we're always trying to feel good. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that we've made as humans, is this idea that we should always feel good, but we shouldn't, because sometimes my dad died, I should feel sad. I said something mean to someone, I should feel shame.
Yeah.
I should apologize based on that. I had a near miss, a car nearly ran me over. Well, I should feel fear, so, or shaken, or whatever it is. Like, this is normal, but we're always trying to leave when feelings aren't good and go to feelings that are better, instead of going, well, no, but this is normal. And that's where all the trouble comes from.
Oh, so true. I feel like I could ask you so many questions, Charlie.
Mm.
Honestly, thank you so much, just for your time today and for sharing your gifts with the world. And I feel like the book is just such a great way for anyone listening just to, learn what you know and to obviously be able to apply it in our own lives. So, Charlie, thank you. We will share everything that you're doing, all of your amazing work. And yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
It was great to meet both of you. Thank you.
If you have enjoyed this episode or are a die-hard fan of the show, make sure to subscribe right now so you don't miss out on future episodes. And to share the love, you can give us an awesome 5-star review.
Help us create a world that is spiritual as fuck.